Hi, everybody. This is Chris,
And this is Matt.
and this is Dark Forces,
Star Wars
Star
Dark
Wars Dark
Forces.
Forces.
It's not a
So,
review of Dark Forces, though.
never a review. Oh my God,
Always a book club style discussion, never a review.
never
That's
a
our
review.
promise.
Yeah, I had somebody the other day who was like, "Oh, this was my favorite game. I'm offended." I'm like, "It's don't. It's not a review. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Doesn't matter.
yeah. Don't don't have your feelings hurt.
Mm-mm.
It's
Somebody else could be
especially
walking around not
true.
liking the stuff I like."
Yeah, I mean, some stuff just doesn't sit right with people, and I think Dark Forces may be for me a good example of that.
I think all our games this October are a good example of me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be a rough one.
It's a
Uh,
rough October for
we'll
everyone.
talk about Chris's love of Sierra games next time.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
time we are talking about Dark Forces, Star Wars, and this game that came out in 1995. Specifically, I don't have it here. I had it on
You looking for
Wikipedia.
like the month?
Wikipedia has the exact day it came out.
Wasn't it like sometime in February?
Sure, I don't know.
So it was sometime in 1995. Um, yeah, so it's LucasArts. You know, the uh, the cast of programmers and designers and
February 15th, 1995.
February 15th. They're all kind of these tried and true group of LucasArts people. Um, the main guy seemed to be Darren Stinnett.
Yep.
He worked on a bunch of other, uh, you know, LucasArts games. The composer, Clint, I'm not going to pronounce his name right, Clint B.
Okay.
Bajikayan. He
Okay.
did a lot of music, and he also did some voice acting in some Star Wars games.
Hmm.
So it's a good group of people who worked on this.
Well, and like you said, LucasArts, generally speaking, they hired good developers. They made good games. They reverse engineered Doom to make this game, and they added a couple things in that we wouldn't see in other games, like being able to take maps over the top of other maps.
Hmm.
Um, but if you can't tell by our tone already, did you have a good time, Matt?
Not really. So let's go back. Let's go back. This is the Jedi engine. I was I felt like I should have liked this more than I did. So I was like, I spent some time. I put it in some historical context. So Doom was 1993.
Mm-hmm.
Heretic was 1994, and I think that's important because you could look up and down in Heretic.
Right.
So this wasn't the game where first game where you could look up and down. It was a pretty big uh, advancement in this first person shooter genre, though. And I think you do have to appreciate that because Duke came out in 96. So
Mm-hmm.
you had Doom in 93, Heretic in 94, this in 95, and Duke Nukem in 96.
Right.
And that's a pretty clear evolution. Like this had jumping, this had looking up and down, it had rooms on top of rooms. You
Which
know,
Duke did not have rooms on top of rooms.
it did not.
It
So
would
this,
mess with things if you tried to do infinity mazes in your level editor.
yes, yeah. But this did it. Like
Mm-hmm.
Dark Forces did it, and it was significant. And the other thing that I think is significant about it is that it's plotty. It's one of the first kind of plot driven games in this genre, and I think you have to appreciate that. And actually, I think in my case, that's kind of why it didn't really work for me, because it was like Doom is always going to be Doom. You're always going to be running around the maze, finding the secret doors, blasts and stuff. This had more structure around it, and it puts you in locations, and that's a significant like departure from what came before
I
this.
I think you're kind of in the right vein there, where this is supposed to be a Doom clone. Um, with this sort of story being told basically through mission briefings and a little bit of environmental design. But having gotten about halfway through it before just finally going, I don't care.
Hmm.
If you're coming into a Doom type game, there needs to be some run and gun action. Like you need to build the game around the engine you're playing in.
Hmm.
And I don't think they did that. They wanted this story game told through complete action. And so I end up running through a lot of empty areas.
Right. Right. There's a lot of backtracking through levels, and it is like, again, it's they built levels that are, I mean, like no one's detention center is going to be laid out like the detention
No.
center in this game, but it's very that thing. Like it has a
Right.
logic to it, and that's cool. But it just comes across as this kind of like awkward pubescent stage of 3D gaming where it's like, yeah, we're doing things in the world, we're giving you plot, but
Right.
we're not there yet.
That's what I was going to say. They weren't quite ready to do those sort of things with it. So you ended up with a game that's not that it's not to say there's no quality to it. It's not so bad you can be like, holy crap, wait till you see 15 minutes in. I got to show you this. But it also ends up with a lot of not interesting. There's not a lot of difference in the graphics on the screen. There's not a huge number of enemies, and there's not a huge amount of enemies.
Right.
So a lot of the cutscenes were actually borrowed from like TIE Fighter and X Wing, so you can kind of see the same animation and the same stuff from there.
Hmm.
These mission briefings are fine. They add a little character, but they also add just sometimes it doesn't quite feel right.
Hmm.
There were some decisions as a Star Wars kind of nerd from back then that I'm like, I don't think the interrogator droids are supposed to be your main beefy frontline fighter droids.
Right. Yeah.
Little stuff like that that it's they wanted to put in cool stuff from Star Wars, and that's what it feels like. It feels like if you took an 8-year-old kid who watched Star Wars a lot
Hmm.
and then told him make a D&D campaign, he'd be like, "Oh, I liked that one droid, and I liked this one, and so we're gonna put them in, and that's what the people are gonna fight." And then I liked these Empire guys and these Empire guys, so that's what they're gonna
Right.
fight. And the big guy at the end, he's gonna be like a giant robot one of these guys, because that's how you put them all together.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does kind of have that feeling. But with that said, like for all the, non-canonical foibles, the sound effects are great.
uh-huh.
The, you know,
No,
the
you can tell they
idea
had access to ILM's
right,
sounds and voice stuff, so
right.
that's good. It feels like it belongs in the Star Wars universe in terms of like I'm giving grief to the game because they're not using the pieces right, but every piece on its own feels if you just looked at that piece in isolation,
Hmm.
they got the piece right. It's how they put them together just sort of feels like either the person didn't really know or didn't really care, and I don't know which sin is greater.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it is kind of like interesting that you're playing, this dude Kyle.
Hmm.
He's got like a Star Warsy last name, but I prefer to just call him Kyle. And so like Kyle doesn't have any force skills or anything, and I think that's kind of a cool choice for this,
Right.
especially in like this era
Hmm.
of Star Wars. Like now, it's like there's tons of non force
Yeah,
having
people are pushing more towards
media.
that too. They're sort of almost sick of the Jedi. Of
Right.
course, the last three movies helped, but we won't talk about them.
Yeah. But yeah, you know the net result is a pretty solid Star Wars experience. Like I think,
Oh, I forgot from the 8-year-old kid. First mission is you're stealing the Death Star plans because, of course, you are.
of course you are. Of course you are. I definitely had beef with the levels, and I think one of the biggest mistakes that they made with this game is how the levels unfold. Because like, you know, the first one is you're in like a secret base, and that's fine because it
Mm-hmm.
feels like a whatever base. Um, and then you're in like another base, and then I think is this
Sewer
the
level because, of course, you are.
right, and then you get to the sewer level, and the fuck sewer levels in every game ever. I hate them. There's only one thing I hate more than sewer levels, and that's birds in any platformer. Hate them. But like every one of these fucking games has a sewer level. So anyway, so you slog your way through the bullshit sewer level,
Yeah,
and then they put you in the level that you're in now, which is a bunch of cliffs.
yeah. Well, so here's the thing that both this level and the sewer level did. This one not as egregiously, but back to back is a problem. Go this way, push a button, come back out where you were. Go this, push another
Mm-hmm.
button, go another way, or backtrack. Do that multiple times, then go through. And it's just deliberately there to pad time. Like on this level, the example is there's a control room that moves a bridge. One lever moves it, the other lever raises it up and down. And you
Mm-hmm.
got to put them at one door, run down to that door, open it up, do some things, run back, do it again, go down to the next one, back, down to the next one, back, go to the new door that opened, go out on a bridge, and then you're done. And if you were dodging enemies the whole time, I
Mm-hmm.
would still call them out on it, but it would at least be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This was just me doing it. Like, there was nothing to dodge or worry about. There was no risk anymore involved. It was just me wasting like 5 minutes, which felt like half an hour,
Right.
of running up and down some stairs.
But again, like you got to give them credit because on some level, there's like puzzle elements to this game, and
Yes.
that was unheard of in this genre
Yeah.
before this. But again, there's not enough to sink your teeth into puzzle wise. It's
Mm-hmm.
just this kind of uh, middle ground
Right.
between a role playing game and an action game. And again, like I give them so much credit for doing it. This was the first thing to do it, but just like coming back to it and coming at it from a modern perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't like I know I played this, but I don't remember having my mind blown by it the same way I remember having my mind blown by Doom.
I am presuming I didn't play this, and almost worse if I did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because
Because you
if I
don't.
did, it completely was gone from my memory. I remember some of my like Star Wars nerdy friends talking about it, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
just because this introduces like the Death Troopers,
Yeah, the Dark Trooper.
Dark Troopers, sorry, yeah, and that was a cool concept, and yeah,
Yeah, they
but
released toys of it too. Like this
mhm.
was they brought this into the fold canon wise
Well,
to
it
some
was
degree.
the 11th best selling game between 1993 and 1999, if you ask Wikipedia.
Yeah,
So it obviously didn't do bad. And I'm
right.
sure there are some people out there who remember liking it. And if you're going to comment below that I don't know what I'm talking about because it's the greatest game ever, I ask you to please go play it today.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The
then talk to me about it. If you still love it, cool, good for you. I'm not going to take that away from you. But don't tell me you love this if you haven't sat down in the last 24 hours and given this a shot, because
yeah,
it's probably not what you remember.
yeah. It like I I got stuck more than I got killed, which is unusual. And granted, I did play on easy because I wanted to get through as much of it as I could.
Right.
There are some more run and gun moments, specifically, like I think around mission 5, which is right after this one.
Yeah.
It's the red one. Like
Mm-hmm.
there were more guys in the red one,
There
and I
had
had
moments, but there also had a lot of moments of walking around empty halls.
oh yeah,
Um,
so much backtracking on these levels, and maybe I was missing routes back because there's a map, but largely useless on
the map
anything.
is largely useless. This one, it's not too bad, but like out in the caves area, it's worthless. Um, the thing I also ding against the run and gun is like, what did you use for controls on this?
I use the keyboard, so WASD, and then the numeric keypad.
Okay. I used keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, it's hard because you have to look
Right.
manually. There's no mouse look.
There's no mouse look. There's no like mouse up and down look. There's a mouse left and right look, but there's no up and down. And that's a problem. But it
Hmm.
does auto aim some. But there's also part of the problem is it knows enough to know the controls aren't really hammered out enough to let you just go nuts with it.
Exactly.
But even with that said, the accuracy is just enough off that it's not a satisfying gunfight.
Yes, it's either accurate when it shouldn't be or inaccurate when you feel like you're dialed in perfectly.
Yeah.
And when it comes to shooting dudes who are up, it's basically like, has he looked up at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it for him.
Yeah.
Because it would be so annoying to have to like really do that. You need the auto aim to make this thing playable.
Right.
But it does, it's frustrating when you're low on ammo and you're just like shooting randomly and
Yeah.
it's missing and you feel
And the
like you
thing is,
shouldn't
like,
be.
you're one pixel to the left, the gun's shooting straight ahead of you. You do that final pixel, and boom, it jumps up 45 degrees and it knows. And even then, it might still not be hitting, but it, you know, like, you're like, this should be close. I'm like, no. So I've just wasted a bunch of ammo. And ammo's finite, and you can run out.
Yeah, you definitely find yourself without ammo.
And that would be fine if the accuracy wasn't as important, but it is. And
Yeah. Yeah, I was overall disappointed. And like again, if if you can get through those levels, if you get through the sewer level, if you get through the cliffs level and then the mine level, you finally get to like the detention center level, and that actually feels like something because you feel it like seems like a detention center, and there's some like interesting elements, and the mission briefing has like tips that
mm-hmm.
are useful, and then it feels like it's coming together at that time.
Like
I
they
still
finally
found,
figured the game out by like mission 6.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, if you look at Duke Nukem, which came a year after this, they really perfected building locations that are real locations.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're in a city, it feels like a city. There's a
Yeah.
movie theater. There, this kind of doesn't really get there all the way. It still feels
It's still
samey.
too
There's not
early.
enough
Yeah.
textures.
The game's basically more ambitious than the engine can provide,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to ding anyone for trying, but at some point recognize it's not going that way and shift over. I think a lot of nostalgia and stuff for this game is basically going to come down to it was Star Wars at a time where there weren't really movies coming out. There wasn't really
Hmm.
any of that. So this was what you were going to get if you were a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, and it was remarkable for the time, but again, it just like didn't connect with me playing it, and also, uh, oh yeah, and it had inventory too, which was
Mm-hmm.
cool, and like, and you have to find like the key codes, which is kind of cool. Like
Okay.
it had a lot of elements, but
It did have a lot of elements, but one of the elements it had to keep kind of kicking this horse. Uh, and I feel like this is one of those things that someone in game testing, and I know LucasArts had testers, but someone should have pulled them aside and said, 3D is not ready for jumping puzzles.
mm-hmm,
The PC is not ready for Doom jumping puzzles.
mm-hmm,
Stop it. Just
yeah,
don't. Because like this section had some jumping puzzles, and so did the first mission, even where there's like the jumping puzzle was in a room that was dark, so you had to turn on your headlamp, which also has a
yes,
battery in it, by the way, and can run out.
mm-hmm,
And you can look down, like you said, if you're using the keypad, but if you're using the mouse, you can't look down. So you're trying to do a jumping puzzle when you can't see your feet or where you are.
mm-hmm,
And it just,
yeah.
and
Re-
yeah. In the
but
snow terrain, in the mountain terrain, in the sewer terrain, sometimes I was never 100% sure in a few places if I was looking at a cliff or a pit.
mhm,
Like, was I seeing a step up to somewhere else, or was I seeing the edge of a pit on the far side and I'm going to fall down if I keep walking towards it?
for sure, I walked off many cliffs on this level
Mm-hmm.
specifically. Like right when I started on this level, I walked off a cliff because I thought I was like on the ship or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like kind of looking at it from a
Yeah.
cliff.
That's the first thing
Yeah,
I did on this level, too. Is just like, whoop, right over the edge.
and then when you die, it's like then you have to start the whole level over again, which can be quite a
I have
drain
found a
on your
couple
morale.
places that did have like resave points, like I came back in the middle, but
Well,
not everyone, not everywhere, not every time.
if
But
you, I think
that's
if you run out of lives completely, then you go back to
then
the
you
beginning.
definitely do, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There are safe points where it'll restart you.
But that I think is the perfect. The lives thing is a perfect snapshot of this game doesn't know what it is. It's trying to be a story. It's trying to be like an early Half Life,
Hmm.
and but you have lives, so it still is trying to be a game. And if it had just committed, I think, more to the story,
Hmm.
it might have been better. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I was going to say I'd love to see this game remade today with better controls and like a graphic overhaul. Like I think there's something here. I don't think it's a bad game. It's just not good,
Yeah.
and that's worse.
Right. Which and if like I said, it feels bad because like we went back and played Doom and we were like, yep, Doom, yep, this
Yep,
is it.
Doom's
And
Doom, fast, shooty. It's exactly what
yep,
it wanted to be.
even Duke Nukem, it's like, yep, this is Duke. But this I think being in between those two things just didn't
Yeah,
it didn't connect.
and it it unfortunately also suffers from a time where this technology was rapidly innovating. So like
Totally.
it didn't even get to be here and then stand out for a while. It's you
Right.
can have something a year or two later that is a zillion times more.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
look up.
Yeah, man. I gotta say the first like levels or really most of the game is about this like dark trooper
Yeah,
business. And then you finally meet one. That was the pit for me
was it?
because like you're like at the bottom of this thing and you plant some explosives and then a dark trooper shows up, but it doesn't really have that much impact.
Right.
It just seems like just another enemy, and there's no like music or cutscene or anything that really made me stop and go, oh holy shit. I was like, oh, you know, here's some droid, I gotta like throw a grenade at it.
Yeah.
Or actually what I did, this pissed me off too. I ran around trying to find my way out of the place
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to avoid the guy, but you have to kill him.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for it. You kill it, and then he hops on his radio and says, I just killed a dark trooper. And man, that bummed me out, because like that could have been a great cinematic, like, you know, feeling, but it was just like, oh, I got to kill this guy. Okay, I'll throw a grenade at him. Okay.
And I didn't like the character. Did you like your character?
Not really.
Yeah. Like, I'm not rooting for this guy. I don't care about him. And a couple times he's talked, I've kind of been like,
Yeah.
I don't like you. Like,
Right.
My pit was definitely, I want to say the sewer level, but I don't think that's it. My pit was this level and having to like do that trip on the stairs 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, you have committed the sin of wasting my time.
Right.
And there is no coming back now. Like,
right. Like it's almost a puzzle.
It's almost a puzzle, except it's not. There's no brain power in this one. It's
Yeah.
My peak, I think, was finding the hidden caves on the first level for extra ammo and power ups and stuff. Like,
yeah.
like,
Finding
oh, this is
secrets
going to have some good
funny.
secrets. I'm going to figure some stuff out. And then I never really felt great with the secrets again. Like, they were okay, but nothing like that. Nothing that really called out to me, made me want to explore.
Yeah. I think my peak was the title screen and the scroll, because it's just like,
get you all that Star Wars vibe.
Yeah, it's like got me in the nostalgia, man. I was like, yes, this is like the Star Wars that I remember, like the era, not so much the game,
right?
But like it got me in a.
Yeah, I really liked this era of Star Wars. That is one thing that helps this immensely, is it's from that era where it still felt gritty.
Mm-hmm.
Once the prequels came out, it changed a bunch, and then definitely after the Disney recanon, everything. That said, I prefer Rogue One to this guy walking into a room and downloading Death Star plans and walking out.
Yeah, right.
The only other thing I'll say is there's no rebinding of keys. Boo.
Oh, yeah. So you had to use WASD like a plebeian, huh?
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I, of course, embraced it.
Yeah, you're fine. Only several times did I end up on the wrong keys occasionally, but
yeah. I mean, it moves
it does
relatively well. The lack of mouse look hurts, but like he can sprint, and the jumping is good and the ducking is good, and like it's fine in that regard.
The controls are fine. I wish I could customize them, but in and of themselves they're fine. The manual, peak 90s sort of chaotic layout, but it did tell you enough about everything and kind of snuck some lore in there and felt Star Wars-y, so fine, I guess. Like that's just my whole thing about this, is it's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not going to come back to it.
Yeah, I don't think I will either. I was just like, before we started this, I was just trying to finish one level, and then I was like, okay, well, it's time to record, and I kind of felt relief that
Yeah.
I didn't have to do it. So I probably won't go back and finish it either.
Yeah, I'm not gonna TIE Fighter. I'm gonna go back and play again probably
Oh yeah, I
soon.
love TIE
That's a
Fighter so
great
much.
game. I'm not mad I played it, but I have no interest in going back.
Yeah.
This was a thing that I saw, and I'm good. And thanks.
Yep.
All right. Poor Dark Forces.
I know.
It deserves better, but
Yeah, I know.
but it's not gonna get it. So
Not from us.
not from us.
Maybe Matt Barton will play it.
Oh, Matt Barton. Oh, you Matt Barton.
Yep.
Uh,
He's probably refreshing our channel, waiting for this to come
it's
out.
like, oh my God, they're doing Dark Forces. I know they're gonna mention me. Me and Auto Duel.
Yep.
Everybody take your
Always.
shot. A long game. Gabriel Knight. Sierra adventure game. I'm having the time of my life.
Mm-hmm. I can tell. I can hear the
Hooray.
enthusiasm.
The envelope feels light. The envelope feels light. Gabriel does not want to move the books right now. Gabriel does not want to move. Gabriel does not want to move the books right now.
Yeah. That's pretty much sums up our next episode then.
I just saved you all an hour. Oh, you're
Yep.
welcome.
You're welcome.
But short game.
Yes.
Dungeon Hack.
Dungeon Hack. Very good.
Yes, this
SSI,
uh-huh.
D&D.
First person quickie random adventures. I made sure, I don't know. Yeah. It's from that early 90s era of Dungeons and Dragons, but at the time when they were sort of running out of license time, so
Mm-hmm.
needed to get something in there. So
Yep.
Dungeon Hack. That'll be one of
Stay
our next couple
tuned.
games.
Yeah.
Short one today.
It was, yeah. We just
There's
kind of
not
like,
much to say. It's a first person shooter based on Doom. And it's mostly empty for at least the first 4 or 5 levels. And then you got a couple run and guns, but the controls aren't great enough. And if Star Wars trappings and playing all the expanded universe canon is important to you, you'll play it. If not, enjoy whatever nostalgia you have for it and leave it there. That's my suggestion.
yep. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thanks,
Sorry
everybody.
we shit on your favorite game. Bye.
Bye.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.